hey, you're in a different spot now. So yeah, I'm doing this again. Maybe it'll be better, because I kind of noticed last time that there's a lot of engine noise and stuff, and maybe this way you can actually see me instead of just looking at a dash cam and like the very tip of my head. So yeah, anyway, I'm driving home from school. That's what I'm doing right now, and I figure this would be a time where I could do another video, which I'm doing. And this time I wanted to talk about the audiobooks that I listen to, and they're both of them that I've mostly been listening to. Both of the series are Dungeons and Dragons related, and I've listened to a few different ones. Mostly I listen to the Legend of Drizzt novels, which is by R.A. Salvatore, and it's about Drizzt Do'Urden, who is a Drow ranger from the Menzoberranzan, which, just a small backstory, Drow are evil as fuck, and Drizzt isn't. So he decides at a really young age that he doesn't want any part of being, you know, evil. So he says, fuck this, and he sets out, and he goes through the Underdark, which is super dangerous, all by himself, and he ends up on the surface, and he makes friends, even though people fucking hate Drow, and he does everything from stopping an evil wizard from destroying a city, to, you know, fighting pirates on the high seas. He's fought in multiple wars for dwarven homelands, and, you know, he's done a lot of stuff. The story of him has so far spanned, I think, like 200 and some odd years. So, like, he's been here for a while, and he's done a lot of stuff. And I've also read stuff about a guy named Catterley Bonaduce, who's a kind of a reluctant cleric to the god Danir, which is the god of knowledge, because he's chosen by him. And we kind of see throughout his life is, like, from people just trying to destroy his library that he lives in, the Edificant Library, which is like a excuse me, sir, coming by, which is like a cathedral to Danir, and he's, you know, stops you from destroying that, and it finally gets so corrupted that he has to tear it down when he becomes like a full-on, like, in control of his powers. And we see him go all the way through his life. He does so much. He gives up his youth. Like, he does a spell that takes so much out of him just to build this amazing cathedral called the Spirit Soaring. And it takes so much out of him that he literally becomes an old man. But Danir slowly starts giving him back his youth as he kind of feels like he earns it. And so he kind of does the thing where he goes Benjamin Button on it, where he gets younger and younger, and then he stops aging, where he becomes the age he was when he makes it, and then he becomes inexplicably linked to the Spirit Soaring. So that was another guy, and now I'm reading books. They call them the Brimstone Angel Saga, and it's about a girl named Farida. She is a tiefling, and she was abandoned as a child with her twin sister, Havilar, and they're being raised by a dragonborn in, like, this city just full of outcasts. And one thing leads to another, and she ends up making a pact with a devil. Sorry, there's a big difference. With a devil named Lorcan, as you do, and she stops an invasion of hell and an invasion of Aboleth at the same time, as you do. And she's done a whole bunch of stuff. She's uncovered long-lost libraries. She's stopped an advancement from an evil empire of shadow. And right now she's just kind of embroiled in just kind of a weird love triangle that also has, like, really dire implements or dire implications if kind of the wrong hearts fall into the wrong the wrong way. Now I just kind of bring all that up because it's a weird thing of all this stuff happens to Drizzt. Like, he's had, like, I've probably read 30 or so books, something around there, of him. There's a grand total of about 6 or 7 books with Cadderley in it, because some of them aren't actually his. It's like with Drizzt or with some other people. And I'm only on, I think, my 4th Brimstone Angels book. But as much stuff has happened to Drizzt, I don't feel like he's changed ever, really. In about the 2nd book, he's already as Drizzt as he's going to be, as he's ever been. Because if we count it in like chronological order of his life, he is born, he finds out he's really, really, really fucking good at moving his hands. Like, his dad comes up to him when he's like, I think like 10, puts like 10 quarters in the back of each of his hands, and he's like, alright, throw it up in the air and catch it all. And he's like, alright, first try does it. Like, doesn't drop a single one. So he's like, see, he's fucking awesome. So at that very moment, you're told Drizzt is fucking awesome. He's probably gonna be awesome at everything he tries. And he is. Because then we kind of keep skipping through his training and everything, and he kind of starts getting indoctrinated with the Drow way of thinking, which is, I fucking hate everybody, and everybody should be killed. But then the first time he's like brought out to actually go kill somebody, his stomach turns and he doesn't like doing it. And he just, like, from then on, like, at that moment, he is Drizzt. He has his set of morals, and he has stuck to it for 30 books. And it gets draining after a while, it's the best I can say. Because as much stuff has happened to him, he doesn't change. He's the same character. If you had skipped all the books, the only thing that would be different about Drizzt is that he has different stuff. Like, now he has a whistle that summons a unicorn, or he has an arrow that shoots lightning. But he's not a different person. He's been who he is forever. So it's a weird thing of, even though I feel like all this stuff keeps happening in these books, like in the span of the latest Drizzt books, he goes from living in Mithril Hall to basically conquering back another dwarven homeland that was run by Drow and then run by demons. And then, yeah, like, a big sweeping arc of a lot of stuff happening, but Drizzt didn't change. He was what he's always been. And some people can find that admirable, but it just gets, I don't know, it gets boring. And I had this weird hope in this book in particular. On the cover, he has a lot more armor on than he normally is depicted. Like, he has, like, actual metal, like, pauldrons and, like, metal gauntlets and, like, metal chest piece. And usually he only wears, like, a mithril chain shirt and some leather armor. So there's a point where he gets hit with a sword that they've been building up as this fucking mega deadly son of a bitch. Its name is Kazitea, or Cutter, because it, like, literally, like, you can drop it and it'll just fall through rocks. Like, it is as sharp as anything can possibly be. And Drizzt gets cut from hip to shoulder with this thing, so you know he is fucked. He goes into a coma because he's so fucked. And I figure, oh, so this is gonna be a really cool thing where they actually maybe change Drizzt's fighting style, because he's maybe permanently injured from from this thing, and he's gonna have to wear heavier armor, and he's gonna be different. It doesn't turn out that way. He just kind of gets woken up, and then he goes out and he kicks the shit out of somebody. Like, it's just a thing of, like, it's hard to be invested in somebody who doesn't take what happens to him seriously. Like, he gets fucking wrecked by this thing. and he gets a healing spell and he's fine. And he can just work just normally and just completely perfectly. So that's the kind of thing where I say all this stuff has happened to him, but I don't feel like it's going anywhere. By comparison, within the entire span of Caterly Bonaduce's story, we see him just being a guy who lives at this Edificant library and does just enough for people not to call him an asshole. Like, he is... Like, they say, hey, you need to pick a weapon, you need to learn how to fight. Because if you're going to be a cleric, you got to know how to fight a little bit. And he goes, awesome. I pick the war yo-yo. And he's like, what? And people go, what the fuck are you talking about? He's like, oh, I pick a war yo-yo. And it's sure enough, halflings used to use a thing that was basically a war yo-yo. And so you see him become a guy who takes everything that unseriously to become the chosen of the god of knowledge, and who, you know, sacrifices his body and his life just to build this amazing, like, cathedral just in his guy's name. And it's like a complete transformation. It's not the same character that you start with, and it's done so well that really you don't notice it. He just goes from one thing to the other, like, kind of realizing that this is what he should do, and this is the right thing to do, and this is the next step in his life. To where, you know, when he finally, like, comes up against, like, literally the most insanely powerful thing they could possibly come up with, which is a dragon, lich, mind flayer mixed with an evil relic that was made out of like 7 other liches in pure sunlight. Like that, like he has to fight this, and they keep kicking the shit out of this thing, and it keeps coming back. So he's like, well, I guess I have to sacrifice myself. So this guy who, you know, at one point in his life was just doing the bare minimum, to where he was just basically fucking around on what he was supposed to be doing, like learning how to use a weapon, and instead playing with yo-yos, is now locked forever, walking in a circle to keep this unimaginably powerful beast at bay. Like, that is a character arc. That is a guy who has changed. There's a guy who learns and, like, thinks, and he has, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but stuff has happened to him. He's like, I feel like that was a story, as opposed to where right now where Drizzt is there's just a list of things happening. Like, then a bunch of orcs came, then they kind of hid out for a second, then they beat the orcs, and then they kind of sat around for a while, then the orcs started fighting again, then they sat around for a minute, then they beat the orcs, then they went to go fight some drow, then some demons showed up, then Drizzt got hurt, but he's fine now. He beat the demons. Like, yeah. Like, I don't know if I had said this before, but this is just going to be me rambling and complaining in the car, just as a way to kill time. But going back to it, it's like I was saying, a lot of stuff has happened to him, but none of it affects him. None of it changes him. And that's what brings me to the one I'm reading currently, which is The Brimstone Angels with Farida and Havilar. And really it's a Farida book. Like, that's the main character, but they give so much to everybody else that everybody feels like they could mostly Havilar could possibly feel like the main character too. Basically what's happened is Farida inadvertently kind of gets seduced by a devil. Not like sexually, but like it's like, I'll give you all this power, I'll do this, I'll do that, and she just kind of like can't help herself but say, okay, I'll take it. And she gets ostracized from the town that she lives in. So the only people that, you know, are with her now are her adopted dad, which is a dragonborn, and her twin sister. There's so much subtlety with that fucking dragonborn. goddamn love fucking Mahen. That's his name. And just, it's only been 4 books, and they've all almost entirely consisted of like twilighty teenage romance and teenage angst, but they always learn a lesson, and they always bring it over, and always carry it with them, and always think about it, and always have it change how they view the world. Because before, she was just this like nervous, kind of nerdy girl that, you know, is a tiefling, which puts you kind of at a disadvantage, because tieflings look like devils. Like, they have horns, they don't have any pupils, they just have like silver eyes or yellow eyes. In her case, she has 1 silver, 1 yellow eye. And everybody just kind of like, they automatically assume that there's something wrong with her because of that. And it always sticks. Anytime, like, most people's first impression of her is she's half devil. That's not the case, but that's what everybody thinks. It's slightly like Drizzt, where everybody says he's a drow, he's fucking evil. The only reason I say she is kind of a better allegory for racism in this case is because tieflings aren't inherently evil. Their society isn't evil. That's just what they are. Like, a really unfortunate thing happened millennia ago that made them all look that way. And everybody just kind of makes assumptions based on that. Whereas drow, they fucking earn their reputation. They have raiding parties. And they have, like, demon orgies. Like, when you go, oh, he's a fucking drow, it's not really that unwarranted. Really. I just feel like if you want to make a better thing about racism, tieflings work just a little bit better. Anyway, so she deals with this and that, and she deals with, like, romances with, like, other paladins, and the devil that she, because he's only a half devil, the devil that she gave her pack to, and just all this stuff that mostly just revolves around how she feels about this, and, like, how is it going to affect her long term. So whereas a situation would come up with Drizzt where there's thousands of orcs, and he's like, we're gonna have to fight these orcs, and then it comes down to, should we sign this treaty that the orcs are offering us, and we'll be kind of living as neighbors, as like an unsteady alliance between us dwarves and orcs, and it's, wow, that's never happened before, like, what do we do? And Drizzt just instantly goes, you guys, you should try it, you should be fine, you should do it. Yeah, and everybody goes, all right, Drizzt, we'll go with it. And they do, and it works for a while. Like, I think it goes for all of about 100 years. This treaty stays into effect, and then, like, slowly but surely the tensions start rising to unmanageable levels, and war breaks back out, and kind of what everybody was fearing was going to happen happens. And it's that since the orcs were basically in the middle of all these lands, they have now, like, they basically explode, and they take over fucking half of this land, the Silver Marches, just because they were allowed to be as a neighbor there. And everybody goes, this is all fucking Drizzt's fault. If he wouldn't have fucking told Brunner to fucking to let these orcs stay, not all this war, all this fucking bloodshed wouldn't have happened. And Drizzt's response isn't like, oh man, did I do the right thing? It's literally, well, I did the right thing at the time, now we need to move on. Like, just fucking water off of his back, does not give a fuck, is just stuck in his ways. In some ways, yeah, there's nothing he can do. He can't go back and change it. But the least I could hear is him kind of doubt himself for a second. Maybe think about things differently. Shouldn't, like, maybe next time he goes, maybe I shouldn't give quarter to these kind of people. You know? I don't think it's necessarily the right thing to do, but if he at least asked the question, it would be something. Because now I'm just kind of spacing off of my own self. So I think that's probably a good time to stop it then. The main thing I was just saying is, as little shit happens in these other books, like, you can kind of sum up what happens in the Farida books as girl gets powers, doesn't know how to handle them, and she slowly but surely gets embroiled into more and more convoluted shit as she finds out more and more about her powers. And she learns about herself from it too. Whereas, and that's it. But I feel like so much more happens within those confines, like, just to keep me interested, as opposed to Driss, where trying to even do that little sum up would never be able to do what has transpired within his life justice. But at the end, it's still, he is the same person. If I had written down the character traits of Driss after the first book, and I wrote them down now, I would be writing the same list. But I couldn't say that from Farida from book 1 and Farida from book 2. So that's all I was wanting to ramble about. I only got like 5 minutes. I'm still stuck in traffic here. So yeah, probably talk to you guys later.